Excuse me, sir, is this the Delta House?
Sure. Come on in.
They have cold beer and action on the game.
I'm shocked to find that gambling is going on in here.
It's time for the Degenerates Next Door.
Dollar bills, y'all.
My name is Jason Hammer. Rob Kendall, #1 rated radio host, former elected official, and tax-cutting machine right across from me. We are the Degenerates Next Door, and this is a degenerate question. Yes. And we're going to ask this to our professional handicapper, Kenny Brett, when he comes on here in just a little bit. When does March Madness officially begin? Is it with conference tournaments? Do you count conference tournaments as March Madness? If there's an insane buzzer beater, does that count as March Madness? Or is it 1 week from today, the first real day of the NCAA tournament? Not this Dayton, Ohio play-in crap. And that's what it is, play-in games. When does March Madness begin for you?
Well, as my wife said, refers to it as the brackets. Are we doing brackets this year? Are we doing the brackets again this year? That's when it starts. Some of these teams don't even try in these conference tournaments. I feel like if you're Purdue, are you really, you're going to waste those legs? Those dudes like Kaufman, Wren, who play a lot of minutes all year long, are you going to, 4 games, have them playing, 40 minutes a game, 160 minutes? So Bob Knight hated these conference tournaments. That's why he never won the Big Ten tournament. He thought it was stupid. He didn't want to be there. It starts when, are we doing brackets again this year? That's when it starts.
1 week from today.
That's right. Yeah, these play-in games are these Dayton stuff. We could still bet on them, of course.
Well, sure.
But that's not real stuff.
And I will. I consider myself Mr. Play-in game, but that's what it is. It's a play-in game.
Yeah.
When you're filling out the brackets, as your lovely better half would say, it's usually your choice of one of those games, like whoever it is in that playoff round, play-in round, against the seeded team.
True. Can I tell you a wife bracket true story?
Please.
So you know how on the list there's those play-in games, it's the 16 seeds.
Right.
And so when they do the bracket for the second game, they'll play a 1 seed. Well, they don't know who the winner of that game is going to be, so they got to abbreviate them.
Right.
And one year the letters were MCC / so whoever the one team was, MCC, and then / SMO, SMO. So whoever the other team was SMO.
Southern Missouri or something.
I don't know who it was. So my wife's looking at the bracket, and obviously everybody knows. All but, one time in history it's been, or 2 times in history it's been.
Virginia and Purdue are the only ones that have ever lost to a 16.
So you always just assume it's going to be the 1 seed, right? So she goes, who's MCC SMO?
Sounds like a bad rapper. Like somebody that's opening up on like a 90s nostalgia tour for Snow. MC Snow.
So every year now she's like, when does MCC Smo play?
And you know what? She's the person that wins the office pool.
She beat me a couple years ago. I think the MCC Smo year she might have won.
Because that's how it works. Somebody who doesn't watch any of these games or doesn't think about it too much, like we all overthink it, they win the office pool. And what we're going to get into next Tuesday, the big March Madness show. It's a 1-hour extravaganza next Tuesday. There's a big difference between winning your office pool and winning bets with the point spread.
That's right.
Huge night and day difference. And we'll get into that next Tuesday.
The money all spends the same.
Sure. You, in theory, could win a lot more if you bet point spreads, right? Because you have so many games, and each one could pay you out each time. Let's say you run the table, which no one's ever done. But, you win the office pool, depending on how many people are in, cost of entry. It could pay off pretty well.
Is that $1 billion offer still a thing?
Yes. Now, it's not the one guy anymore. It's like a company that does it. I think whoever used to have the Cleveland Cavs Stadium, Quicken Loans or whatever.
Yeah. And the deal was, if you get every game right, they'll give you $1 billion? $1
billion. Got to run the table.
How far has what's the furthest someone has ever gotten on that?
Got to the Sweet 16.
Wow.
And then lost, I think, like 3 or 4 games.
So, if you got to the Sweet 16, you'd be, what would you be? That's 8. You're within 15 or so picks of winning $1 billion.
$1 billion.
That's some pressure.
But still, it's so hard just to win a 3-team parlay. let alone getting all of those games right moving forward, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, it is ridiculous. I will admit this. I've been doing brackets. We're doing brackets again this year. I've been doing brackets since junior high. I don't think I've ever won.
Really?
I've never won a pool.
I've won a couple. And now that you can bet on these games too, there's extra. So I may have Duke advancing on the bracket, but depending on what that point spread is, I might have the other team covering.
Yeah.
So that's what's great. Just buckle up, get ready, bow next week. One of the great weeks in the American sports calendar. Hey, before we get into having a lot of fun talking about some of these games tonight, and I've got action tonight, I saw that Oliver Miller passed away. Remember Oliver Miller, Rob?
You know, my dad told me this years ago. He said, "Well, you will reach a certain age, you will remember them from their sports cards." And that's, the older I get, that's the cards you got as a kid, the cards you pulled out of packs. And I remember Oliver Miller being a fat guy from my sports cards. I remember specific cards and poses that he had, and that's how I remember him as.
In a league, the NBA loaded with the arguably best athletes in the world, he was one of the few fatties. He was one of us, right? One of us. But back in college, he was at Arkansas, and he was a force. Now, he was fat in college, too. It's not like he just ballooned in the NBA. Like, remember when they had that lockout strike year, and Sean Kemp went from being this, like, athletic, best dunker in the league to the Goodyear Kemp, as they called him. He came back from the lockout about 50, 60 pounds heavier.
Yeah, but you're right. I mean, you remember him as being, it's like, how is that fat guy in the NBA?
So I've put together, in honor of March Madness, 1 week away, my all-time March Madness fat guys team.
Now, these are them in college.
Correct. Now, most of them were fat in the NBA. But we're going to start with one person that I think is the exception to that rule, Charles Barkley. Barkley at Auburn was every bit the round mound of rebound, right? He was pretty chunky in Auburn. But by the time he got to the league, after a couple years, like you look at end of the run Sixers Barkley and Phoenix Suns Barkley, he was pretty cut.
Yeah.
But back in Auburn, with him and Chuck Person on the same team, which was pretty damn good, he was pretty chunky and he was athletic. So we're going to put Charles Barkley on the all-time March Madness fat guys team.
Great Charles Barkley story. So in '84 for the U.S. Olympic team, they had tryouts, and Knight's the coach. And everybody said Barkley was the best player at the tryouts. It wasn't even close. And Knight's like, nah, he doesn't really fit what I want to do. You cut. Bob Knight cut Charles Barkley and kept his own dude, little scrawny, small freshman Steve Alford. And everybody was like, what is this guy doing? Of course, they won the gold medal.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, because I'm freaking Bob Knight. Like, I know what I'm doing. But he cut Charles Barkley.
And that '84 Olympic team, if you're going with just collegians, probably the best one we've ever thrown together.
Didn't they beat the pros? Didn't they play the pros in some sort of exhibition and beat the pros?
That I can't recall.
I'm fairly certain
But
that
you had
happened.
Vern Fleming, you had Michael Jordan. I mean, you had dudes on that squad.
But he cut Charles Barkley. And Bob Knight's like, yeah, he didn't fit what I wanted to do.
Well, Barkley wasn't fit at that time. So that's why he's the number one pick on our all-time March Madness fat guys roster. Of course, the late, great Oliver Miller, passing away last night.
Yeah.
When he was at Arkansas, that was a big, fat ass that was going to put up numbers. He was going to get rebounds. He was going to get points. He was probably somehow going to beat you down the floor, despite the fact he had man boobs at 20.
Nolan Richardson, was he still the coach back then? Was that a Nolan Richardson? They were like the number 2 team in the country at one. I mean, they were good.
They went from 40 minutes of hell to 40 minutes of Taco Bell with Oliver Miller at Arkansas. Robert Tractor Trailer of Michigan.
Yeah.
Another late great gone too soon. Robert Trailer no longer with us.
Have you seen the chunky guy that shoots the underhand free throws?
I have.
He's going to be a hero if they can win a game in that tournament.
But I think the dudes we have on this roster run that dude off the floor.
Oh, totally.
Though.
No, it was nice to see some guy. It's Fordham. Is that right? I think that's who he plays for.
Fordham, I believe, takes on G-Dub tonight. And there's chatter, scuttlebutt, that our handicapper Kenny Britt's got action on it tonight.
Great. Yeah, I love this guy. And they were right. All the people on Twitter were like, this guy's going to be a star if he makes the tournament.
Because America loves a good fat guy success story.
Yeah.
Like last year, another guy on our team, DJ Burns of North Carolina State.
That's true.
We love a good ball-playing fat dude who's got drop steps and moves, just like in the NFL. Like, would you rather see a tight end score a touchdown or a fat guy touchdown?
That's right.
When there's a fat guy touchdown, Twitter breaks.
That's right.
Everybody's like, fat guy touchdown!
Yeah.
It's great. And the last person in our starting unit, Glenn Big Baby Davis of LSU.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, LSU has put some big fat bastards out there. Now, Shaq was pretty in shape at his LSU days.
That's right.
But you have Stanley Roberts and Glenn Big Baby Davis. Now, my sixth man, the first guy I'm bringing off my bench, because let's be honest, these dudes are going to get worn out. You're going to have some subs. Dimitri Hill, the meat hook from Florida, the Florida Gators. Big, strong, fat dude who didn't quite have the Kareem Sky hook. He called it the meat hook, where he'd put all of his big, fat rear end on you, block you out, and shoot a hook shot.
Bryant Reeves comes to mind. You remember? He was
Big country?
Yeah, I mean, he was just like the guy he was husky, right?
Well, see, I think like some of these dudes, like these 7-footers, like, yes, they probably weigh 350, 400 pounds, but if you put them side by side next to, say, Oliver Miller and say, who's the fat guy? It's going to be the shorter, fatter guy.
That's right. That's correct.
So that is my all-time March Madness fat guy team. There may be more fatter guys, but I think if you put this team on the floor, we win.
You got to be able to play the game.
Right. You've got to be good and be able to get a dub. Real quick before we hit action tonight, I just read something that blew my mind. The state of Florida. So they've got one legalized sports betting book. It's a Hard Rock, and I believe it's a Seminole Hard Rock. That is like not even the top 3 of places where people in Florida are making their bets.
That's for the Indian tribe.
Yes. So in Florida, if you want to make a sports bet, you either have to use Hard Rock or you have to use an offshore account, because all these other sites, whether it's Bet Rivers, FanDuel, DraftKings, MGM, whatever, they got the geo-tracker on there. And in Florida, honestly, the one thing DeSantis has not done well for that state is sports betting.
There's got to be some special interest reason. I mean, there's no logical reason to deny people the ability to bet on sports. It's got to be the power of the Indian tribe not wanting that to be available to the masses.
It has to be that. It has to be that, because it's ridiculous that that's the only group that has action on it. And the juice. Like, I've seen people posting their tickets of making sports bets in Florida. The juice the house puts on there. Re-damn-diculous.
Not a lot of minus 110s out there.
No, not at all. Oh, you want to pick a winner in a golf event? You want to pick a winner in a NASCAR race? Well, the other sports books have that at plus 800, plus 900. Minus 210 here, Dick. What do you think about that? You don't like it, drive to Georgia.
Yeah, that's complete garbage. You got to fix that, DeSantis. Fix it.
Come on, Ronnie D. All right, with that being said, let's get down to it. I've got action tonight.
I want action tonight.
So, we've got so many conference tournament games. I'm giving you one that's a late start tonight, 9 p.m. So if you're listening to this podcast, maybe you didn't get to it until the afternoon. Maybe you're out, walking, getting some steps in, whatever. 9 p.m. tip tonight. Earliest. If any of these other games go overtime or run long, could be later. USC against Purdue. Big Ten tournament in Indianapolis. Purdue is a 10-point favorite. The over-under is 149.5. I am going to take Purdue on this one. Now, Purdue has been ass this last 3 weeks of the season, just ass. But this is a de facto home game for Purdue. Now, Purdue will never draw as many fans to Indianapolis as IU does. Purdue will always be little brother in the state in terms of attention, despite the fact they've won more games the last decade. Purdue fans, though, will show up tonight, and this is a USC team that played the late game last night that went into double overtime. And I watched this USC team last night, Rob, and I put you guys on the group text. They've got some good players, but they are the dumbest team I have seen in a long time. There's no reason for these guys to be this bad. So give me Matt Painter over Musselman every single day of the week, twice on Sunday. And coming off a double overtime game, USC might be a little gassed. Purdue is rested. I'm going to lay 10 with Purdue.
You know what you're about to get? The Purdue not covering experience. Let me tell you, as a person that's fallen victim to that multiple times throughout the year, they'll win the game, but they're not covering.
So my action tonight
I want action tonight.
is Purdue, de facto home game, laying double digits, big number, against what I think is going to be a tired USC team. All right, let's hit a little break here. When we come back, Kenny Britt of KB Sports, professional handicapper, he's got action tonight. And I'm going to ask him, when does March Madness officially begin? Is it conference tournaments or is it 1 week from today? That's coming up next. This is the Degenerates Next Door. It's the Degenerates Next Door. My name is Jason Hammer, Rob Kendall right across from me, and joining us now on the hotline, one of the biggest degenerates that I know. He is the professional handicapper from KB Sports. He's the KB. It's Kenny Britt. Kenny, is it officially March Madness yet, or does that not start until next Thursday? And I don't count the Dayton crap. To me, Dayton is a play-in round. Is March Madness for you conference tournaments, or does it not start until that first Thursday where it's most of the games?
Right. For me, it's already started. I took the day off work. I left at lunch yesterday. I actually print the conference brackets out.
Nice.
So I've got a pile of So for me, we're degenerates. It's already started. Now I agree with you. Dayton doesn't count on the official part, but for me, it started Tuesday.
Now, are you somebody that takes time off of work? We talked last week. I got my vasectomy during March Madness.
Yep.
A lot of dudes do that. Do you get with your buddies? Do you get with your families? Is this like life and death around the Brit household?
It actually is life and death. Since I was 12 years old in middle school, my mom used to write me notes to get me out of school early. I have left work early.
What an awesome mom. That's an awesome mom move.
True story. Since I was 12, write me notes. I take off the 4-day weekend next weekend. But I got a life and death story that's 100% true with my brother-in-law. Now, this was about 25 years ago at least, maybe even more. He had a knee surgery on a Thursday of March Madness. He calls me the next day on Friday about mid-afternoon, right when those early games are finishing up and the next set of games are starting, right when you're real busy.
Right.
And he said, hey, he goes, I need you to take me to the hospital. My doctor's going to meet me there. My knee's bleeding. I'm like, well, how bad? How bad's the bleeding? I'm trying to get out of this already. And he goes, well, I can see blood and I shouldn't. I said, well, can you drive? He goes, no, I can't drive. And then I'm like, well, where's Jennifer? Where's Jennifer?
I love you tried to make him drive, first of all. But anyway, go on.
Where's Jennifer at? That's my sister. Oh, she went to work. I'm like, all right, fine. So I go get him, pick him up. And I see a little bit of blood, but he's got, it's gauzed up big time. We get to the hospital, Hammer. True story. He had a drainage tube put in there that had come loose. When they took that gauze off, if you can imagine like a movie, like a Civil War movie or a Revolutionary War movie where they just chop a guy's leg off at the knee.
Oh.
That's how much blood there was. It was like a freaking massacre.
And you wanted him to drive and you tried to get out of it, and it was family. Jesus, Kenny. Jesus.
Degenerates.
That is.
I felt horrible. And this was back before cell phones. They were just cell phones. You couldn't check scores all day. We were at the hospital for like 4 hours. I'm missing all these games, but I saved my brother-in-law's life. And that is a true story. We bring it up every year. I actually called him the other night and asked him if I could talk about it on air. And he said, oh, yeah, that's hilarious. So,
I love you can laugh about it now, although, he was very close to becoming Lieutenant Dan, and you wanted him to drive. Jesus. All right.
Hammer. It looked like a massacre had happened in there.
All right, Kenny, let's get down to brass tacks here.
Yes,
we got
sir.
conference tournaments going on right now. Action all day, all night long. Give me something this evening, late afternoon, this evening. What are you feeling good about?
Yes, sir. Well, I've started off strong. I went 2-1 on Tuesday. Our only loss was by 1 point. 6-2 yesterday, so I'm 8-3 right now. Going into Thursday, 5:00 Eastern tonight. George Washington and Fordham in the A10. George Washington is -6. I love George Washington. They beat them on the road earlier this year by 18, 22 points. I can't remember now. So I'm on George Washington tonight. Pretty heavy, -6, and that goes 5:00 Eastern.
Okay, so you got G-Dub tonight. Now, next Tuesday, when we all assemble back here, this will be the big March Madness preview show. So we will have you, we will have our pal David Stefanoff. Not only are we talking about bets to make, but we're also talking about ways to win your bracket pool, because those are two totally separate things. So
Absolutely.
Until then, where can people go to get your picks, sign up for your VIP service, and all that good stuff?
Yes, sir. Facebook, KB Sports. We're also big into horse racing right now. Last week, I even gave it to you, and you forgot. I had a 10-1 horse that I had loved all week. I gave it to every VIP client, anybody that would listen. He went off, but he was 10-1 on the morning line, went off at 9-1, and he won at the wire. So he paid $20.20 for every $2 bet. Huge day last Saturday. So horse racing is really kicking into gear. March Madness, baseball. Doesn't that start this weekend with the Japanese games?
Yeah, the Cubs and the Dodgers over in Japan. Yeah, that's early next week. It's going to get lost in the news cycle of bracket mania, but yeah.
Well, don't forget. So, yes, everything going on. And, again, I'm on Facebook at KB Sports.
All right, Kenny Britt, my man, we appreciate you. We'll talk to you on Tuesday.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
All right, we have got conference tournaments going on, but that doesn't mean we can't break down and have a good old-fashioned God-fearing Degenerates special. That is coming up next. We are the Degenerates Next Door. Back on the Degenerates Next Door conference tournament. We got hoop on all day, all night long. And don't forget, this weekend, I will lay out some picks for the NASCAR race in Las Vegas on our Twitter handle. So look for either myself at Jason Allen Hammer, all one word, or the Degenerates Next Door podcast, a little cartoon picture of Rob and I. Just search for it. You'll find it. I'll put some NASCAR, some racing picks up on social media.
I'd like to point out a little, obviously we're putting this together on Thursday, so hopefully it'll be rectified soon. But there have been 3 shots made on the 17th at the TPC at Sawgrass. Of course, my Let's Get Nuts was there would be a hole-in-one. And you have denied you were like an insurance agency. You have denied my claim on all 3 of them. I hope I never have you on the other end of the telephone.
Well, you wanted credit for somebody getting it in practice. Like, if I bet on Therese Halliburton to hit 2.5 3-pointers or more in a Pacers game, but he hit 4 in practice in the pregame warm-up, do I get paid?
I'm just saying, I've been very liberal. I've been like that judge that approved the sex reassignment surgery to that prisoner. I've been very liberal to your interpretations over the years. So 2 guys got a hole-in-one in the practice round. You said
practice.
No.
We're talking about practice.
And then one guy hit one in the water but then made the next shot. And
so that's par.
That didn't count either.
Yeah, the bet wasn't hole in par.
Yeah.
The bet was hole in one. There's 3 words, hole in one. The word one is literally a third of the entire process here.
Oh, now you're a golf expert, huh? Okay, all right. Yeah. Okay, I get it.
I have no response to that other than let's do a Degenerate special.
It's time for Hammer's Degenerate Special.
So many degenerate games to choose from, so little time. But here's a good one for you. Let's do New Mexico State against Kennesaw State. A little Conference USA tournament action. 6:30 p.m. tip-off. Kennesaw State is a 1-point favorite, and the over-under sitting at 136. Now, you're probably asking yourself, wow, it's a 1-point spread. That's a pretty low total. Which way are you going to go? Neither. I'm not picking either one of those things, Rob. I'm going with a team total on the underdog in a Conference USA tournament game. New Mexico State, their team total is 68 points. 68 points team total, New Mexico State. New Mexico State, they score. They score some points. So I'm going to ride the Lightning here, and I'm going to go over 68 points on New Mexico State. That is their team total. You can get plus money on over 68 points with New Mexico State. Team total plus money on the underdog. I think the wrong team is favorite here. That is your degenerate special.
Boy, howdy, hot dang. Mr. No leniency for everyone else. He's got hot takes on his own.
It was in practice, Rob.
He went in the hole.
Practice. And then the other guy, it was par after he'd already went 10 cup and hit it into the water. He snapped his fingers and said ball. Yes, it was a defining moment. It was a defining moment like Tin Cup had.
I love that everything you know about golf is the movie Tin Cup. You think as though the guy's just there snapping his fingers saying ball.
That's not true because Happy Gilmore also is a big part of my golf knowledge.
I'm done with this show and I'm done with you.
We will be back on Tuesday, the 1-hour March Madness extravaganza. Until then, make sure you follow us on Twitter, X, whatever the hell you want to call it now. We'll put some plays out over the weekend. For Rob Kendall, for our professional handicapper, Kenny Britt of KB Sports, my name is Jason Hammer, and as always, may the odds be ever in your favor.